Hello, dear aquarist or fish keeper. This is my fish disease case 313, and it's about a South American cichlid, the Oscar cichlid or Astronotus. And the Astronotus had gill flukes and a bad intestine or gut. So I will show you my findings so you learn to understand fish diseases, to learn to diagnose, to learn to treat, and especially maybe for those that like a microscope, try to use a microscope because that helps you in most of the cases to solve the problems. So an astronautos with gill flukes and a bad gut. My books of fish diseases should be available in your home near your aquarium because they help you to understand the prevention, the diagnosis, and how to treat fish diseases. The link is below, or you can order them directly from my place, my company. Here we show the Oscar Cichlid with a poor behavior, separating from the group, that had Popeye and was dying. And we had in the previous days a few losses. So this fish was very typical in its behavior. Look, it's getting listless, poor behavior, will not eating properly anymore. It has a sunken belly. Well, this fish was ready for examination. The Popeye is something which is very typical for fish that usually suffer from internal infections, that the Popeye appears. This kind of correlation. The gills, they didn't look so bad at the first sight. You can see there's some air bubbles inside. There's some reddish here. But notice here to the right, where I point to it, some black inclusions, some black parts of the gills, which were not obvious, clear to see when we just took out this gill arch. We found a few flukes at the tips of the gills. You can see them here. Here's some large air bubbles. We go around and examine further the gills. And a little bit further, we found a few more gill flukes here. So we found a few just by scrolling around with through the microscope. Here there's no gill flukes at the outside, but we're gonna look here to the right. And there we can see here those dark inclusions. Those are also gill flukes, which are difficult to notice, but you can see them moving. When you change a little bit the light, you change a little bit the or adjust your microscope, you might be able to see it. And here we go to a larger magnification, and you can see the typical gill flukes that are troubling this Oscar cichlid. Here we see more at a higher magnification. There were quite a few. Not sitting at the tips, not so easy to find even when you do a gill scraping. You will not be able to scrape these off. They're really sitting in between the lamellae, between the gills filaments. And that is, of course, troubling when you take the skins or gill scrapings. Here we see more. All those dark parts are all gill flukes. So there is quite a few, and they are rather big ones. So they will lay eggs, and the eggs will, well, be able to reproduce and infect other fish in the aquarium. Here's a few more here. This one is clearly moving, but not all of them are so clearly moving. So learn to diagnose more correctly the gill tissue. Maybe you can find this case of gill flukes more hidden between the gill filaments. And then we took out the organs, internal organs, and we noticed a very reddish, bloody red intestine. You can see this is bloody red. This is infection. This fish is really troubled. The gut flora or microbiome will be hurt. something caused this to happen. Could have been due to the flukes, yes, gill flukes, or even skin flukes, but in this case, the gill flukes weakened the fish and made it proneable to get secondary infections like bacterial infection. In this case, it came into the gut or the intestine. Maybe due to the food has been supplied with more bacteria than usual, and then the fish is more susceptible. So the badly infected fish like this one, well, that's too late to treat because he's hardly eating anymore. You better put it gently asleep, euthanize it. You have to treat the gill flukes with a good fluke medication. Some people use praziquantel. That can help. Ask your aquarium shop or your fish doctor. They might have good products available. The bloody intestine must be repaired, and usually to control and those bacterial infections, you have to use an antibiotic. But well, the gut is infected, the microbiome is also damaged, and certainly you have to use a functional fish food to restore the microbiome, the gut flora, with probiotica and prebiotica. And in this case, for this Oscar Cichlid, I would recommend to use Dr. BASSLEER BIOFISH FOOD FORTE to restore the gut flora. So that's some advice of treatment for this Oscar cichlid. More details on cichlids, specifically in this big, large book. There's a lot of details on cichlids and on discus diseases, where the diseases come from and how to treat. You can become more professional in the keeping of your fish by going to my Patreon channel and take a course. Learn more. Be more professional. So I hope this Oscar cichlid was worthwhile to be sacrificed so I could use it to show to you what can happen. Also, to learn properly diagnose the gill tissue, because sometimes those flukes are not so clear to see. Do your best, learn more, or particularly subscribe and continue learning for my channel. Thank you for watching.